I'm Evelyn Culp, interviewing her.
Welcome to Evie's History Bites, hosted by Martha Owen, the Heritage Collection Manager of the ELC Heritage Collection. Welcome to another episode of Evie's History Bites. I'm Martha, your host, and I have another fantastic episode for you this month. I have Joe Veneto and Danielle Lewis-Jones from the Veneto Collaboratory to talk about our Taste of Nappanee experience and its development. Let's jump right on into my conversation with them.
Well, we'll just go ahead and get started. So thank you so much, Joe and Danielle, for getting together and doing this interview with me. So why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourselves?
So I'm Joe Veneto. I'm Chief Experience Officer at Veneto Collaboratory. We're a boutique consulting company that really focuses on destination development and placemaking. We work with destination marketing management organizations throughout North America. And one thing that I will tell you is that my earliest days of the travel industry was me starting out as a tour guide with songbooks and bingo cards, taking people to different places that they hadn't been before on motor coach and air tours. So many moons ago.
Danielle?
Well, my name is Danielle Lewis-Jones, and I am an experience officer with Veneto Collaboratory. I come from a slightly different background, but I have a lot of business development, marketing, and sales experience. I came into the tourism industry in about 2019 when I went to pursue my master's in tourism administration. And then survived COVID while in grad school after having changed my careers and like, oh, wow, the industry just fell out, but still persevered. And was able to join Veneto Collaboratory several years ago and work with great destinations and partners like yourself.
Great. So what is Veneto Collaboratory?
So the essence of Veneto Collaboratory is that we're, as I said earlier, a boutique consulting company, but our primary focus is to collaborate. We collaborate with communities and we collaborate with tourism partners in those communities. So when we work with a destination, right, we're working with partners that are historic sites, cultural organizations. It might be restaurants. It might be a library. It could be a cemetery. We really never know. We work with these groups to really find the essence of place, if you will, which is our focus when we work with destinations. So we've been doing the work for over 20 years. And part of what we do is design experiences. Designing experiences is really kind of at the heart of what Veneto Collaboratory does. And our focus helps destinations drive visitation and create economic development. And for this particular project that we're talking about for, for Nappanee, your organization, right, the ELC Heritage Collection, you fell under the sort of umbrella of Elkhart County, right? And
yeah.
So Elkhart County was the sponsor partner, if you will, of the project. And again, Elkhart County and the team, they work at driving visitation for Elkhart County, for all parts of Elkhart County. And they've done some amazing things, right? The quilt gardens, I love the driving tour right? But they recognized that today's visitors are experience junkies. And so they wanted to really help partners, thus collaboration as well, to really develop experiences. And that's really the sort of genesis of the project.
Nice. So what are your roles within the organization? I know that you said them, but like, can you explain them a little bit?
Sure. So I call myself the Chief Experience Officer at Veneto Collaboratory. And
Mhm.
as I said earlier, kind of at heart, I'm a tour guide. I'm looking for really cool, unique experiences when I travel or in destinations that I'm traveling to that are trying to elevate and innovate. So, um, my role is to work with destinations and again partners, and I'll let Danielle talk about her role.
So he is the chief experience officer, the CEO, cute. And then I am an experience officer. And so really all of the looking for the various. I do the same thing, except of course, with him being the chief, there's more managerial things there, more decision making and so forth. But we tend to collaborate on, different things. And I think that on various experiences, but also just throughout the training process and throughout the master class and so forth. And so I think that especially when we work together, because sometimes we work individually, but our strengths tend to really complement one another. And so my job, as Joe said, is to help partners develop their experiences and become better versions of themselves. So
Very cool. So what are some well-known experiences that you have helped curate?
Well, I would say we're probably over 1,000 experiences over the past 20 plus years. Um, you know, I think some of the experiences. Well, I'll give you a couple. Um, the the National Mustard Museum in Madison, Wisconsin, is one of my favorites. Barry
Mm-hmm.
Levinson is the curator and chief mustard man, uh, and he had a collection of mustard jars, and he was in love with his jars. And so we worked with Barry to create a culinary experience called Mustard Bites, and it's an experience that does a series of tastings with different kinds of food paired with artisanal mustards. So that's kind of a fun experience. Um, I, one of my other favorite experiences is called The Men on the Bag, and it's in Augusta, Georgia, and it's the story of how black caddies at Augusta National golf tournament helped white golfers win green jackets. And from 1932 to 1982, the caddies on the course were the experts. And so this particular story, uh, this experience tells their story, but we also use characters to tell that story. So it's a powerful people story. Uh, so those, and of course, certainly a taste of Nappanee has to be one of my top experiences.
Yes, yes, it does.
Well, and again, part of the reason that you know we visit interesting places, right? And
Hmm.
my sense is when we come into a destination, you look at a destination, but it's like, okay, well, what's the essence of this place, right? What is the essence of
Hmm.
this place? Which I know we'll get into a little bit later. Danielle, you must have a favorite experience or two.
ooh. I have I I love all of my children equally. because they're each so unique, and I think that with the of course, Taste of Nappanee is at the top. Um, they're each so unique, and they each tell such a different story, and just all the work that everyone puts into it. Uh, because each one has such a different personality. But I would say yeah, I don't know. That's kind of hard to say. I love all of my children equally. I'm gonna go there. So
She's going to stay politically
I'm
correct.
gonna say
Okay.
politically correct. So
That's what I say whenever somebody asks me what's my favorite artifact within the museum. I just say, "Oh, that's like choosing your favorite child. I can't do that."
right. It's just so, and it's not that it's not, because I just see all the work that everyone puts into it and how far they've grown,
Hmm.
or how much they grow, and everything. Uh, but I will say, mine is a little bit different, simply because, Joe has been doing this for over 20 something years, so I'm newer to it, and everything. So I'm just all, very Pollyanna and love everyone right now. So he loves everyone as well. But he's had, I'm sure, some people that have grown exponentially, that, because who would think that, no offense, Barry, but who would think that mustard could be interesting? So yeah, historic houses and all these different things, but to be able to make mustard an interesting experience, I think, and to bring out the story uh, in it, I think, is a mastercraft. So yeah. So it's hard for me to say which one right now. So have us back next year, and then
Okay.
I'll tell you. A little plug there, planting a seed. So
Yeah. The Heritage Collection staff and many of our partners in Elkhart County, LaGrange, and St. Joe County, we all went through a master class with you. So can you just elaborate on the process of your master class?
Sure. So our master class is called the Design Studio, and it's designed in such a way that we're able to really provide what I like to call the skills and the tools that destinations and their partners need to design and develop what I call unforgettable experiences, right? And so it's a 7 month process. Now, some people listening may be thinking, okay, well, why do we need this, right? And
Hmm.
and so let's take a step back for a minute and think about today's travelers. So if we think about today's travelers, I like to say that they're experience junkies. And when they're looking to go on vacation, whether that's, go on vacation to a faraway place, or even a staycation, or what am I going to do for the weekend? They're using experiences as the currency of making those decisions. And so we realize and recognize that destinations have to have experiences. But not only destinations need experiences, each of the attractions in a destination need to have unforgettable experiences. So as a result, we put together a 7 month process that provides skills and tools to each of the organizations. And so in your case, Martha, with your team, you went through this 7 month process. And really, it was about designing an experience. In this case, Taste of Nappanee.
Hmm.
How do we design something that is what I like to say engaging and immersive? That's going to bring people into your world, into the world of Nappanee, right? And then, the craft of creating and telling unforgettable stories that people will remember and recount. So designing story, story crafting, storyboarding for sure, and then everybody's favorite, which is scripting. Right. So each experience has a script that's part of the experience so that each of the organizations can create and craft an on-brand experience, right? That's consistent, so that whoever delivers it doesn't really matter, right? But you're going to get the truth, the story, as opposed to, somebody who's just making something up, right? We want the story. Inquiring minds want to know. And then we stage the experience, right? So we work and say, okay, we've got a script. How does it work in the space? Or in this case, as we go through Nappanee and we're telling these stories, how does it work? Does it work? Do we need to make some changes? And maybe Danielle can talk about the change that we ended up making at the end of when we did some testing, right? Martha, you and the team said,
Yeah.
wait. So we test it, and then we help with the marketing and the sales. So Danielle, you might want to, jump in on, we had a script, we did some testing,
Yeah.
and what happened?
You know, it's a similar thing that of whenever things may look good on paper and they are great on paper, but then in IRL in real life, sometimes they don't work out as well. And so you need to adjust and so forth to make it a little bit more interesting. And I think that that's the reason why you test, right? To see what works well and what doesn't, and what's functional, what may be too much. Because it's always best to have too much information so that you can take away versus sometimes having not enough to where you have to add and then subtract and add and subtract again. And so, but that's the part that also makes it very interesting and keeps you on your toes. But each one is going to be different just because, again, when you test it, you realize that some things work perfectly and then other things may need adjustment. One of my favorite parts also, coming from a sales and marketing background, is that each organization, because some of the partners that we work with, some may be new to the tourism world and didn't really realize that they were even part of tourism, and others,
Yeah.
have been in it or that they could be part of tourism, and others um, may have been, it may be old hat for them. But some of my favorite aspects of the process is one, I always love uncovering the stories so let me go back. I love uncovering the stories because so many times we as human beings just don't think that people are interested in what either we have to say or the backstory is like, oh my God, that's the magic sauce.
Yeah.
Like you totally forget. It's like, oh yeah, they scaled the building or what, or whatever, or like in Taste of Nappanee's, like, yeah, this woman did all these different things. And, it's like, hello. And,
Yeah.
so those are some of the things that people, take for granted and that they need to tell. But then from a small business and marketing aspect, being able to know and learn the tools and who to contact, is huge in being informed of those different types of sales channels and really the hand holding that goes throughout, because you're not alone through it. A 7-month process is the master class is not just about learning the skills, because while it is, it also takes a lot of courage for the partners that go through it, because there's a lot of change in getting out of your comfort zone. And especially when we talk about the script, and some people are used to writing and some people aren't, but there's a lot of pushback to grow, and so when that happens, that's not always comfortable, and everyone's not really always it's not an easy process. But Joe's favorite line, throughout it, and what we always tell people at the very beginning is trust the process, and so So similar to, if you want to lose 50 pounds without changing your eating habits or going to the gym or moving more or something, there's something that you're going to have to change and there's an adjustment there, and so it's changing mindset, it's changing, it's change. And human beings aren't really necessarily open to that. And so, those are some of the things I think that are part of our secret sauce is not only teaching the skills that you can then go and apply again and again as things come up to keep, your things interesting, your experiences interesting, but also the change that needs to occur in order for that to actually happen, right? Because if you continue doing the same things, that's not necessarily how you get innovation. And so, but the courage that happens in the partners, like, okay, you know what, we're going to stick to it, we're going to do it,
Yeah.
you know. Joe and Danielle may absolutely get on my nerves. And if they ask me again for this script, then that's one thing. But at the end of it, everyone's like, okay, you were right. If we had just trusted the process, then, it would have been much easier. But, there's a metamorphosis that definitely happens with the experience design, but also in some of the partners as far as just, doing the things that in the end, they end up uh, enjoying because they see the fruit of it. And I think that whether it's through the sales and marketing channels that are taught, and how to market, how to make a script to call people, or how to nurture the narrative and all those various things, I think are important parts of the process. So.
Yeah, I will say your masterclass definitely stretched me and my staff, but it was for the better because it got our creative juices just flowing again, and we can apply a lot of what you taught us in your masterclass to other aspects in the museum. So we're really grateful for that, and we're grateful for the experience as well. Because it was getting us out of our comfort zone and really making us look at how we present ourselves and also what stories do need to be told.
Yeah, I mean the tools and the skills ultimately, um, Martha, those tools and skills, as you said, they can be transferred over to other events, other tours, other programs that the library is working on, right? That you all
Mm-hmm.
at ELC is working on. So that's really our goal. That the next time someone has a great idea, you're thinking, okay, now that we have these new tools and skills, how can we use them and apply them?
Yeah. Which yeah, it's so we're so grateful for that and our new tools. In which we have Taste of Nappanee. I mean, we have 8 different versions of the script, I think. Soon to be 9 because we need to work out some kinks as we've been doing it. But it is giving us a lot of other ideas for future experiences as well, and how we need to sit back, trust the process, and develop them out to what their capacity can be. So I'm really thankful for that, and I'm really glad that um, we were able to do a masterclass. Um, so you guys spent 7 months helping with the what is now known as the Northern Indiana experiences. So what were some of your favorite parts of being in Northern Indiana?
So I guess for me, one of my favorite parts was just really discovering the area, right? It's an
Mm-hmm.
area that I wasn't familiar with. And so it gave me an opportunity really to jump into, 3 different counties, 3 different communities. While we worked with the counties, right, we were in smaller communities as part of that, and then working with different people in different organizations, which is, to me, is always fascinating, right? So it was really it was fun, it was fascinating, and you know, it's a change process, as Danielle said. I don't tell you up front that it's a change process. We
Hmm.
do a little arm wrestling with everybody here and there, but Danielle, how about you?
Um, my favorite part of working with Northern Indiana was getting to know the Midwest, or other parts of the Midwest. I lived in Ohio a little while. And so, but and just finding out the again, all the interesting stories that make up in the personality for each one. Um, I go and I live in Atlanta, and so I know that all my friends and family are tired of hearing about Northern Indiana. And so each time that I um you know send photos and everything, they're like, okay. So but I think that that's the beauty of it, because oftentimes for smaller communities and so forth, there's such richness that's there. And a lot of times we, as a country, tend to focus on the bigger cities as if that's where all the things only happen, or that's where a lot of the stories are. And stories are everywhere. And I think that working in Northern Indiana really helped to solidify that, even more so. So, yeah.
Nice.
I
So
mean, oh, sorry,
oh,
that
oh, you're fine.
and the Amish peanut butter, because how can I ever
Yeah.
forget that, right? So that's the
And,
most
and yeah.
enriching. So
And then we use Caro sauce or Caro syrup.
your connection to
Yes.
Georgia, yes,
Yes.
yes, the Cairo syrup makers in South Georgia and Cairo, Georgia. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked about how tourists are becoming more of like experience junkies. And we've also seen this in talking with people who have taken our experience that they are that they wherever they travel, they're doing experiences. So, what does creating immersive experiences do for the tourism industry, and how can it help it moving forward?
Yeah, so ultimately, when you create experiences, what you're doing is you know, your our goal is to drive visitation and create economic development. But at the heart of creating experiences, it's all about connection. And so, how can we create connection between people and place, or people and people in a place, right? I mean, that's the essence of really what we look for. And so, when you look at we look at Elkhart County, right? We wanted to make sure that we were working in all different parts of the county, and we were uncovering stories in all different parts of the county, which brought us to Nappanee. And
Mhm.
there's a richness in the story, and there's a richness in the place, and there's a richness in the people. And so for me, it's how do all those things come together, right? Um, we had been through town, a year ago, doing a site inspection, sort of snooping around, doing some secret shopping, and taking pictures of the quilt gardens and things like that, and having great coffee, which you have
Yeah.
downtown. But we knew there was more to the story,
Hmm.
and we wanted to find it. So, Danielle, you may want to jump in on that.
Well, to piggyback off of what Joe just said, when we're, creating the connection is so important, because how many of us have taken tours where, I always give the example of like a cathedral st tour. After a while, everything blends together and it's just a church with a lot of stained glass, and you can't
Yeah.
really tell what was different, because they all blur together because there's no story or no personality or anything behind it. It's just what we call show and tell, where it's like, okay, and to your left, you have blah, blah, blah. And this is, the stained glass and it's really pretty and some famous person did it. And then to your right, you have, then to your left, you also have, you have another one which was done a different year. Again, it all blurs together. But without having the things and the personality of place, there's no connection there. And so the what happens with the immersive experiences is that, again, you create a connection with the visitor. Also, for when we talk about tourism and tourism life cycles, normally a life cycle of an attraction or different things are about 5 to 7 years. And so when you talk about, I always also relate it to relationships. Sometimes you got to have a date night. Sometimes you got to spice it up a little bit, and a lot of that is through creating a different experience and having something that's innovative that you've changed it up to create that connection again. And I think that it's all about the connection and the experiences.
Yeah, and we already have plans for the future for Taste of Nappanee. Nappanee is working on the Nappanee Pathway project that is going to it's developing an alleyway to go from downtown Nappanee to Coppice. So we already know that once Taste of Nappanee has had its lifespan, that we're gonna switch to the alleys,
Mhm.
and we're gonna like modern like modify
Mhm.
the experience to be more of focusing on the pathway.
Mhm.
That's very
Because yeah.
cool. Well,
Mhm.
I mean, Martha, what you brought up the alleys, right? And
Yeah.
for me, we've done experiences that have included murals, right? We've included
Hmm.
murals, Augusta, Georgia, Philadelphia, in a number of other communities. But the unique part about Nappanee is Comic Alley,
Yeah.
right? I mean, and the story is great, right?
Hmm.
Six, maybe seven comics, if I remember correctly,
Yeah.
and
There's
most of
six
the
of them.
six of them taught by the
Hmm.
same teacher.
Yeah.
All right, and I love the comics. I mean, it's engaging. It brings people in. It's really unique,
Mhm.
right?
Hmm.
And as you know, there's a component on the Taste of Nappanee that brings that alley to life. I probably don't
Yeah.
want to give it away. I think people
Yeah.
should. I think people should take the experience to find out what
Yes.
that is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Everybody says that that part of the experience is like their favorite.
yeah,
Yeah.
one of my favorites too.
Mhm.
But there's a so in that component, right? You've got this alley which has got
Hmm.
really great graphics and a great
Mhm.
story, but how do we bring that to life at a deeper, richer level? And
Hmm.
and that's really the question that we like to ask and we like to try and answer. And thankfully, working with you and your team, you folks were willing to get out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, very, very much so. And Shoe Alley is under construction right now, which is right across from Comic Alley. And then after that is Jewel Alley. So they're gonna do one on the jewelry store. So
Ooh.
it's yeah, and then we have oh I've given ideas to our redevelopment director of like what I want mapped out for all the alleys. So we'll see if he takes my advice. And since since I'm the one who's providing a lot of his content, so
That's great.
I have one last question. Is there anything that we haven't talked about yet? We'll talk about Taste and Napney here a little bit more, but is there anything that you guys wanted to share that we really haven't touched on?
Danielle?
No, oh, sorry. I forgot we were on video, but yes. So me shaking my head wasn't really as effective. So sorry, listeners. No, I think that you've been very comprehensive and very thoughtful with all of your questions and so forth. There's nothing that I feel needs to be added, but maybe Joe may have something different.
Yeah, well, I guess to me, you know, the richness of Nappanee as a community, right?
Hmm.
I think the richness of the community, of the stories, like we had so much to work with. And you know, the premise of the experience, right? Nappanee, the reason Nappanee exists is because of one decision,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
1874, if I have my dates correct.
Hmm.
Um, you know, the railroad was coming in, latest technology, and that one decision changed the trajectory of the community. And so, you know, the great part about it is it's the opening of the story. It's for Nappanee, it's your once upon a time. Let me
Yeah.
take you back to 1874. And all of a sudden people are like, what happened? What
Hmm.
happened? Um, and you know, the story unfolds really kind of on two tracks to keep with the railroad theme, right?
Yeah.
You've got the historic track, and then you've got the modern day track. And
Hmm.
you know, being able to uncover those stories of how the community grew, you know, but also not only grew from a business perspective, but the people in that community and the people and how the people in the community have really come together over the years,
Hmm.
you know, to make the community better and continue to do that.
Yeah, and I think that was one of the things that I loved most about going through the master class is we didn't initially have the theme of decisions were made. We were coming at it from like they were small businesses and we were highlighting them. And then through your masterclass and through all the scripting and everything like that, like we really were able to get that theme of decisions and what decisions help to shape Napanee. So, all right. So here's my last question. We're going to be a little biased, and you can be completely honest. But you have helped us to create the Taste and Apnea experience, really since its inception. So, what were your first thoughts about it, and what do you think about it now?
So I'm going to let Danielle go first.
Well, no, I mean, like I said a little bit earlier, I think that it was, initially it was always good. It was because you had so much stuff there. It was just narrowing it down and it was narrowing it down, but also the timeline, because sometimes you have so much that it's just like, okay, what do we talk about? What is it that people, that will resonate with people? But then also, how do we organize it to where it makes sense?
Yeah.
And when we're walking, how do we coordinate all these different things? And so I think that, even when we were asking the initial questions to help uh you guys kind of narrow down or which direction you wanted to go or which stories to include. I think that there was always meat there and juicy things there. It was just as you said, curating it and cutting away some of the things because obviously there's only a limited amount of time. It's not like a half day tour, right? So how do
Yeah.
you do the highlights so that, everyone can have something that's representative of all the different decades and all the different businesses and all the different ones. So I think that, and then where you were able to get it to, but it's also a never ending process as you're learning, because
Yeah.
as you just said, there's still some things that may need to be tweaked, but only after doing it, while we test it, several times and you guys rehearse it, before you even get to the testing, then it's very different when you have it with people,
Yeah.
that are paying and so forth. So then you may need to refine even more, So I love that it's a
Mhm.
living, breathing thing. And just again, to see how far you guys have grown and that you've just accepted it and that, you eventually, well, you were very receptive. You trusted the process. But
Yeah.
again, for some, it was a little bit more of a challenge. And I think that, it's easy as a professional and somewhat narcissistic to say, okay, well, yes, go ahead and say we were right.
Yeah.
But, the great thing is that Joe's process is very proven,
Yeah.
with over 20 years of it, you're not, partners aren't, this isn't the first cohort to where there's been pushback or people have grown beyond or, stretched beyond what they were comfortable with. And so to me, I just love seeing all the change and seeing what the experience has evolved into, knowing from where you guys came from and then bragging about you again. So yeah. Because then when everyone is like, oh, well, I'm going to, oh, we're going to it. Because there are a lot of people from Notre Dame and everything in South Bend,
Mhm.
who may have graduated from Notre Dame uh, who are in Atlanta. And so it's like, oh, well, did you know that you can, with the hair toss, did you know that you can also just go down the street? It's not even
Yeah.
that far. You can do this while you're in South Bend, but then you can also tack on this and this and this. Yes, you and your
Mhm.
East Coast hipster, there are all these different things that you do, in Northern Indiana. So yeah, and you can just go to Nappanee and have amazing coffee and then
Yeah.
learn all about it and get like a fabulous, there's all kind of woodworking there and you can get
Mhm.
cabinets and then you can do this and you can get like a board and everything and just be really one of the cool kids with your tasting charcuterie board. So yeah, so yeah, so I brag, you think that I'm joking and that that's an exaggeration, but I totally do that all the time for you guys. So just know, that's how proud I am, to say that we worked with you. So
Yeah. So, Danielle, those are great comments. Again, for me, you know, Martha, working with you and your team was great. As Danielle said, and you said, it was a stretch, but you were willing to do the work,
Mhm.
and you have 9 versions of your script. Well, you have the
Yeah.
original script with modifications, just so people don't think, oh my gosh, we had to start from scratch 9 times. No, 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 no. We didn't do
No.
that. We
Yeah.
modified it. But again, there's when you're in a master class, it's really about crafting an experience in a way that brings people into it, right? And brings people into it who have very short attention spans, as we all know, right?
Mhm.
And so, the power of story and being story forward, that's intentional so that you can connect. And I also think, for me, when I think about Nappanee, it's the story of community. And when we think about community, there's the community of sort of bygone days where everybody knew your name and you knew your neighbors, but in a sense, that's Nappanee,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you work together, you help people, um, and you're working together. The community's working together for the good of the community, right? You've got a new generation of young people, of families that are investing in the community, investing in businesses. Well, they've got their stories that are being added on to the story of the community. And, people that are hearing this may not know all of those stories, whether they're stories from the past or stories from the present. And I think that, you know, really taking a walk into Nappanee to get a taste of it, and then coming back to, the ELC Heritage Collection, it really kind of takes it all full circle, right? Um, you know, I mean, for me, when we first started, I was thinking, so who is this Evelyn? Like, who
Yeah.
is she? Right? What was she all about?
Hmm.
Um, and and the more we get into Nappanee and the more we uncovered, the more we also learned about Evelyn.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And when you think about a community, you know, people have the ability to really change and enhance a community. And at the end of the day, Evelyn's really left a legacy. She's really left a legacy, and she's left her fingerprints on the community, in a really positive way, to show people that, we've got a past, but we also can create a better future. And those stories, and certainly the tastes, the foods that come along with the experience, really, certainly they engage people, right? Becomes immersive, but it's it's just a great experience, and everybody, not just the people from, visiting from the outside, or other parts of, northern Indiana or Indiana, but the locals come learn about your history, hear these stories. You know, some of them you may
Yeah.
know, but it's almost like Thanksgiving dinner, where
Hmm.
you kind of know the stories are coming back. You want them to be retold, but there's some new ones there, and I I think your locals will be surprised.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, and you said how, like, people have short attention spans and everything. In June, my little boy, he's 21 months old. Him and his dad came and did Taste of Napanee. My husband really wanted to do it, and so we were just like, we'll just have him do it. We'll work on his walking through the walking tour and all that kind of stuff. His most favorite part was the food. He he
I'm
stood
not
on the
surprised.
chair. He stood on the chair. I mean, he was very attentive during the walking and all that kind of stuff. But he devoured his plate of food.
Wait, is
So,
this the 21-month-old or your husband?
both. Both did, but the 21-month especially just devoured his food. And you know with you guys as well, we've been able to partner with different places, and they make like special things for Taste of Napney. So we have the Napney Bakery. We have to tell people, because they are probably one of our most popular food that we do. We do apple turnovers instead of apple pie, because we talked with the bakery owner, and she's like, well, she's like, I usually don't do apple pie, but I'll make you these apple turnovers. So they are just exclusive to Taste and Napnee. We have to tell people that we're sorry. You can't just go and buy them off the shelf. um, but and now, like, I'll just walk into the bakery and she'll be like, "Okay, how many do you need to order?"
That's great. Signature food for the Taste of Napanee.
Yes. So we like that. A lot of people are just like, why are you giving us this when we can't even go and buy it? And we're like, because it's special. Like
Mhm.
we got her to do this signature thing just for us. So
That's great. That's great.
yeah, well, is there anything else uh that you guys wanted to talk about or anything like that?
Danielle?
No, I mean, I'm just so glad that you invited us on and that we got to talk
Mhm.
about you and everything that you guys, the hard work that you put into your experience, the overview of the experience, as well as the process. And so, again, I just feel so proud for everything that you guys have done and for the end result, for the end product. I love it that obviously your husband was like, well, what has she been working on all this time to where I
Yeah.
have got to do this? Because what has been taking my wife's, attention for everything to where this is all that she's talking about, which means that it's resonating even more than I thought. So,
Yeah.
so I'm excited about that. So, and the fact that we get to come and talk about and brag on you guys. So.
Yeah. Nope.
Well, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Martha. Like I said, I just absolutely thrilled. And in addition to your husband and your child, I know we had the boss on one of our tests as
Yeah.
well, right?
Yeah, we did have the boss on one of the tests, our business manager who is paying all of the bills that comes in for Taste of Nappanee. He wanted to see what it was all about. So yeah, they're just I know that my boss is extremely proud of this experience and that we have something more to offer than just the museum. Because we're all about stepping out of the box and figuring out something new.
You know, one thing that I did forget to mention, going back to the courage. So sorry about this. I know that we're wrapping
No,
up,
no, you're
but
fine.
um, the courage that it takes for a nonprofit to do a revenue generating um, experience or activity and kind of have agency in things. Obviously, we know that like a lot of, you're part of the Nappanee Public Library, and a lot of nonprofits, um, tend to rely on grants and, and donations and so forth. But I think that it takes a lot of courage, one, to step outside of the box and say, hey, this is something that we can also do um, to help provide information and be a important place that will always be here for our community by having something that's revenue generating and self-sustaining. I think that, in today's day and age, you need creativity like that because, donations, the amount of donations aren't guaranteed the way that the economies go up and down, as well as grants, but I just love the fact of the courage that it took to say, hey, we're going to try something different as a revenue stream to make sure that the Nappanee Public Library and its programs and so forth and the museum um, are
Mhm.
always here. So I think that's something that, while it's not the primary thing, it's also something that a lot of nonprofits and communities uh, should look at kind of as a case study because I think that it's beautiful, when it works well.
Yeah, yeah, it is, and we hit a hiccup with how we pay for Taste of Napanee, and the food, but we got it all figured out. Um, and we do know we do have things that are coming to Napanee that will be able to make Taste of Napanee self-sufficient. Um, with funding, we have some grant programs that the city is talking about starting. And we've already been told that Taste of Nappanee would be considered for funding for it.
Great. That's great news.
Yeah. So, and I just want to say thank you so much, Joe and Danielle, for taking your time not only to talk to me today, but for the 7 months that you guys spent going through all of our stuff, teaching us things like that. You guys have taught me so much that I don't think that I could ever repay you in saying thank you enough for what you have taught me and what ideas you have sparked, and you really truly re-sparked my creativity that had somehow been snuffed out and I didn't even realize it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for saying that. We feel like after we worked on this project with you and this experience, we know two things. One, that we've got some great friends at
Yeah.
at ELC, and two, that we will never go hungry if we
Right.
come to Nappanee.
Yes, that is true. Well, thank you guys so much again, and it was so great to see you and talk to you.
All right. Thanks an awful lot, Martha.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
and sell, sell, sell.
Yes, and
Okay.
tell the team hi.
I will.
All right.
All right. Bye.
All the best.
Bye-bye.
Thanks
Yeah.
again.
Uh-huh.
Well, that's all that I have for you today. A big, big thank you to Joe and Danielle for taking the time out of their busy schedules to talk to me. Next month, my husband Eli is back, and we'll be talking about the Nappanee Theater. But before you go, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, hit like, or leave us a comment.